If you lived in the 1970s, your home had a heartbeat. The shag carpets, wood paneling, and avocado-green fridge weren't just decor, they were part of daily life. But there was something deeper that made those homes feel warmer, cozier, and somehow more alive. What was it about a 1970s home that gave it that special magic we've lost today? Let's step inside and find out. It is simply impossible to walk into a 1970s home without being hit by color, and not the quiet kind. Every corner had something bold to show off. Kitchens were decked out in avocado-green appliances, living rooms glowed with harvest gold walls, and burnt orange rugs stretched under heavy wooden furniture. Even the bathrooms joined in on the fun with pastel pink or powder blue tiles. The 70s weren't subtle. It was warm, earthy, and most of all, alive. These colors weren't random choices either. The whole palette was inspired by nature. Think autumn leaves, sunlit wood, and cozy fireplaces. Homes felt welcoming because everything around you looked like it came straight from a late summer sunset. And somehow, even when colors clashed, orange curtains beside green couches and a patterned rug thrown in for good measure, it all came together perfectly. There was something comforting about it. The colors made you feel grounded, connected, and at home. No sterile whites or sleek grays, just tones that reminded you of family dinners, record players spinning in the corner, and the faint smell of coffee drifting from the kitchen. That's the magic of 70s color. It wasn't just decoration, it was a whole mood. Warm, bold, and impossible to forget. Step into a 1970s living room, and the first thing you'd notice is how lived-in everything felt. Furniture wasn't sleek or minimal. It was comfortable, chunky, and proudly showed off its personality. Think low coffee tables, wide armchairs, and deep plush sofas that practically swallowed you when you sat down. Earth tones ruled here too, as browns, oranges, and golds mixed with rich wood finishes. Every piece of furniture had warmth, from the wooden legs on the sofa to the patterned cushions tossed across it. Sectionals became the new family favorite, wrapping around corners and giving everyone a cozy seat for movie nights or chatting after dinner. Many homes even had recliners that were less about style and more about ease. Dad's throne in front of the TV. Plastic and chrome were sneaking in too, giving a hint of modern flair without taking away that homey vibe. Coffee tables often had smoked glass tops, while end tables displayed ceramic lamps or a few framed Polaroids. Nothing matched perfectly, but that was part of the charm. The 70s living room was a little cluttered, a little bold, and always welcoming. It was the heart of family life, a space that felt warm no matter the season. If there's one word that sums up 1970s home decor, it's texture. Every surface had something going on. Carpets were thick and soft, curtains were heavy and patterned, and furniture fabrics came in velvety, touchable materials that made rooms feel warm and lived in. Wall-to-wall carpeting was a point of pride, often in deep browns, oranges, or golds that tied the whole room together. You could practically hear the muffled footsteps of kids running around, or the soft hum of the vacuum in the background. Curtains weren't shy either. They were bold, floral prints, paisleys, or geometric shapes, hanging thick over big windows and adding that extra bit of drama. Some homes even layered them with sheer panels underneath, creating that perfect glow when sunlight filtered through. Textures didn't stop at the floor or windows. Even couches had character, covered in rough tweeds, corduroy, or velour. Pillows and throws added pops of color, while area rugs introduced even more patterns on top of patterns. Because in the 70s, more really was more. It all came together to create a cozy, inviting feel. The mix of fabrics and colors made homes feel alive, personal, and unmistakably warm. A sensory experience you could almost feel just by looking around. Walk into a home, and you'd be greeted by walls that practically talked. Wallpaper wasn't just decoration back then, it was identity. Every room told its own story through wild patterns, swirling florals, or bold geometric designs that sometimes made your eyes dance. From kitchens splashed with orange and yellow sunbursts to bedrooms covered in soft, leafy vines, wallpaper gave every space its own unmistakable vibe. and people weren't afraid to go all in. You'd often see entire rooms wrapped floor to ceiling in the same print. Even the bathrooms had their own patterns, often paired with matching towels, shower curtains, and sometimes even toilet seat covers. It was an era of self-expression, where a little loudness was part of the charm. Patterns didn't stop at the walls either. Furniture fabrics, tablecloths, and even lampshades echoed the same lively energy. Stripes met florals, and somehow, the mix made homes feel vibrant and alive. It might seem over the top by today's minimalist aesthetic, but back then, those busy patterns made life feel colorful and fun, every wall a reflection of the joyful, expressive spirit of the decade. Few things say 1970s home quite like wood paneling. Whether it was the basement, the den, or the family room, those dark, glossy panels were everywhere, and they gave the whole space a snug, cabin-like feel. It didn't matter if you lived in the suburbs or a small town. That smooth brown finish instantly made any room feel warm and grounded. Most of it wasn't real wood, of course. Thin veneer or faux wood laminate became the go-to choice, giving homes that rich look without the hefty cost. Still, no one minded. It looked sophisticated back then. Families would hang framed pictures, posters, or even mounted shelves right on the paneling, and it all blended in perfectly. The lighting often made the wood gleam softly in the evenings, especially under the amber glow of 70s lamps. It paired beautifully with the earth-tone carpets and patterned furniture of the era, creating that signature lived-in charm. Before flat screens took over our walls, the television was more like a piece of furniture, big, boxy, and proudly displayed. In the 1970s, every living room had that one massive wood-frame TV console sitting like royalty in the center of the home. It was the heart of family life. Evenings often revolved around it. Families would gather after dinner, kids sprawled on the carpet, parents settling into their favorite chairs as the familiar static faded into a favorite show or the evening news. Shows like Happy Days or The Carol Burnett Show brought laughter into living rooms across the country, all framed by that warm wooden console humming quietly in the background. These TVs had class that you just don't see today, with polished wood grain, sliding doors. Sometimes the top even doubled as a place for family photos or a vase of fake flowers. And when the picture faded to static late at night, the glow it left behind somehow made the room feel calm and complete. The TV console wasn't sleek or portable, but it brought people together. It was a reminder that entertainment used to be shared. One screen, one room, one family at a time. Forget stainless steel and matte black. Back then, appliances came in cheerful shades that made kitchens feel alive. Avocado green, harvest gold, burnt orange, and even coffee brown were the stars of the show. Every fridge, oven, and blender proudly wore those retro hues that somehow made cooking feel more fun. The color coordination was serious business too. Families often matched their refrigerators to their stoves, and even countertop gadgets, like toasters or mixers, followed the same color scheme. A kitchen wasn't complete unless it looked warm, inviting, and full of personality. These bold colors reflected the optimism of the decade. They gave homes a sense of individuality, a break from the sterile whites of the 50s and early 60s. And paired with wooden cabinets, patterned wallpaper, and the soft hum of a working oven, those colorful appliances became part of a bigger story, one of family, food, and connection. Sure, it looks outdated now when compared to modern design, but there is something indescribably nostalgic about opening a bright green fridge to grab a bottle of milk. It feels personal and distinctly 70s. Evenings in the 70s had a rhythm, and at the center of it was the dinner table. Every night, families gathered around it. No phones buzzing, no TV playing in the background, just the sound of conversation, laughter, and the clink of forks against glass dishes. It wasn't just about eating, it was about reconnecting after a long day. Meals were hearty and homemade. Casseroles, roasts, mashed potatoes, and vegetables straight from the can or the garden. Everyone had their spot, and there was always a sense of routine and togetherness. Kids shared stories from school, parents talked about work or neighborhood news, and sometimes the radio played softly in the background. If guests dropped by unexpectedly, which happened often in those days, there was always room for more chairs and plates. The dinner table wasn't just a piece of furniture, it was the social hub of the home. It taught patience, sharing, and the comfort of belonging. Looking back, those dinners remind us that family connection used to be simple, just food, warmth, and conversation that lingered long after the meal ended. Before playlists and Bluetooth speakers, music had weight, literally. In the 1970s, the pride of any living room was the hi-fi system, a beautiful setup of tall wooden speakers, shiny knobs, and a turntable spinning vinyl records that filled the house with warm, rich sound. Dropping the needle on an album was a ritual, a little crackle, a soft hum, and then pure magic. Owning a hi-fi meant you cared about your music. People did more than just listen, they experienced it. Albums weren't background noise, they were events. Friends would gather to hear a new release from Bee Gees or the Eagles, leaning back on shag rugs and just letting the music wash over them. The record covers themselves were part of the charm, big, colorful, and proudly displayed on shelves like art. Parents might have had their Sinatra or Elvis collection, while teenagers spun Led Zeppelin or Elton John. And when a song ended, you'd flip the record and enjoy the satisfying sound of the arm resetting for side B. Music in the 70s wasn't portable or private. It was shared. It brought people together in the same room, under the same rhythm. That analog warmth filled memories. The 1970s living room had a touch of green in almost every corner. Houseplants weren't just decoration back then, they were part of the home's personality. Spider plants, ferns, and pothos trailed from hanging baskets, often suspended in hand-knotted macramé holders that homeowners proudly made themselves. It was a blend of nature and craft that gave every space a lived-in, earthy warmth. The 70s were all about bringing the outdoors in. Plants sat on windowsills, coffee tables, and even TV consoles, soaking up the soft afternoon light filtering through patterned curtains. The air felt fresher, and the greenery added balance to all the wood, carpet, and color that defined the decade's decor. Macramé art wasn't limited to plant holders either. People made wall hangings, curtain ties, and even lampshades, all woven with care and creativity. Each piece added a touch of bohemian charm, reflecting the era's free-spirited vibe. There was something grounding about it all, a mix of nature, creativity, and comfort that modern minimalism sometimes lacks. A 70s home didn't feel sterile or overly styled. It felt alive. Every vine, knot, and leaf told a story of a simpler time when home decor was handmade, heartfelt, and full of life. Homes after sunset were alight with warm hues of golden and soft lighting, giving every room that comfortable, homely feel. Instead of modern ceiling LEDs, homes relied on lamps and hanging fixtures that doubled as statement pieces. Tiffany-style stained glass shades, beaded lamps, or mushroom-shaped globes cast patterns of light that made evenings feel peaceful and familiar. Every corner seemed to have its own light source. The living room might have a tall brass lamp with a pull chain, the dining area a hanging pendant with amber glass, and the bedroom a bedside lamp with a floral shade. Even the bulbs had a warmer tone, adding to the relaxed atmosphere. Lighting in the 70s wasn't just for practicality, it was part of the aesthetic. The soft, dim glow paired perfectly with dark wood paneling, patterned walls, and earth-tone furnishings. Some homes even had dimmer switches, which seemed futuristic at the time. It all created an inviting ambiance, one that made families want to gather, talk, or listen to music late into the evening. The lighting didn't just brighten rooms, it set a mood that modern white light can't quite recreate. Children's rooms were colorful, fun, and full of character. Forget sleek furniture and minimalist walls. This was the decade of bright paint, wild prints, and creativity everywhere you looked. Posters of rock bands, movie stars, or Saturday morning cartoon characters covered the walls, and sometimes even the ceiling. Lava lamps glowed in psychedelic colors. Night lights shaped like animals sat on dressers, and the occasional beanbag chair became the perfect reading spot. Bunk beds were a big deal, especially in families with siblings. They saved space and added a little adventure to bedtime. The top bunk felt like a fort, while the bottom was a hideout. Furniture was sturdy and often made of wood, built to last through years of play. The toys? Simple but unforgettable. Metal lunchboxes, model cars, dolls, and board games were everywhere. Shelves overflowed with books, trophies, and maybe a record player spinning the latest pop hits. And no matter how chaotic it got, there was a comfort in it all. The 70s kids' room wasn't just for sleeping, it was a world of its own, filled with color, personality, and the kind of nostalgic charm that still brings a smile decades later. The 1970s garage wasn't just a place to park the car, it was Dad's kingdom. Step inside and you'd smell a mix of motor oil, sawdust, and good old-fashioned hard work. Metal toolboxes lined the walls, each drawer packed with wrenches, screwdrivers, and sockets neatly arranged. Well, most of the time. Pegboards held tools in perfect rows, while half-finished projects sat on workbenches waiting for the next free weekend. This was the era when people fixed things. A squeaky door, a loose cabinet, even the family car. There was always something to tinker with. On Saturday mornings, you'd hear the hum of a power drill or the hiss of an air compressor, maybe with a classic rock station playing softly on a dusty radio nearby. For many dads, the garage was more than a workspace. It was a retreat from the stress of everyday life. Even kids would hang around, learning how to use a wrench or just watching with curiosity. It was a place of purpose and pride, a slice of independence that defined the 70s spirit. A man's garage was about craftsmanship, care, and hard work. Before streaming, game consoles, or endless cable channels, home entertainment had its own kind of charm. Sure, the television was the centerpiece, but fun didn't stop there. Many homes had stereo systems that took up half a wall, complete with turntables, cassette decks, and big wooden speakers. Families would flip through vinyl records like old friends. If you were lucky, you might have had an 8-track player or a reel-to-reel recorder, both of which made you feel like you owned a personal radio station. Game nights were another staple. Board games like The Game of Life, Clue, and Yahtzee came out of the closet when guests arrived, and laughter usually lasted longer than the games themselves. And let's not forget the home movie projectors. Parents would set up the screen, dim the lights, and relive family trips through flickering Super 8 reels. The hum of the projector and the smell of warm film instantly made a house feel alive. In a 1970s home, entertainment wasn't about screens. It was about sound, connection, and shared moments that filled every corner. In the 1970s, neighborhoods felt like extended families. People didn't text before stopping by. They just showed up. It wasn't unusual to hear a knock on the door and find your neighbor standing there with a plate of cookies, a borrowed record, or simply a "thought I'd drop in." Doors weren't locked all day, and no one needed an appointment to visit. Front porches and driveways were social spaces. Kids roamed freely from house to house, playing tag or riding bikes until someone's mom called them in for dinner. Grown-ups gathered in living rooms over coffee, chatting about local news, the latest recipes, or who just got a new car. Hospitality wasn't a production, it was second nature. Evening visits were a thing too. Someone might pop in to share a laugh, watch a TV special together, or bring leftovers from Sunday dinner. The line between friends and neighbors was blurry in the best way. That easygoing sense of community made every neighborhood feel alive. Everyone knew everyone, and no one ever felt too far away. It was a time when connection began with just a friendly knock and a smile. That's the thing about the 1970s. Homes weren't just built, they were lived in. You can almost hear the laughter, the music, and the clatter of dishes from the kitchen. If this trip down memory lane made you smile, make sure to check our video on why 1970s Halloween was better. There's plenty more nostalgia where that came from.